I was just talking to a friend of mine, new friend, who I won't name because I don't have her permission to, but a very dear friend of my fiance, who I think is totally awesome and is also on the spectrum, part of the club. And she had never heard the terms about being a sensory seeker versus a sensory avoider. So I thought maybe I'd do something super quick about that. I'm going to talk about my children from when they were infants, because that's, I think, the purest time to see the differences between a seeker and an avoider. My oldest son, the autistic wolf pup, was definitely a seeker. So he loved to be held really tight. He really enjoyed being swaddled really tight. He would like firmly press his hand on the sheet as he was falling asleep on his belly, and like rub the sheet with his hand. And he liked to have the inside of his palm touched when he was going to sleep. Like I would gently touch it. He liked when I would do this to his nose. That would help him fall asleep. My hair was very long at the time. So he would be laying on his back on the bed, and I would take my hair down and I would just kind of do this, and it would just fall over his face, and he would just, it was so adorable. He's like weeks old, and he just would close his eyes and put his head back and just go, he just loved it. Seeker. He was a seeker. He is a seeker. As he got older, he was constantly in our laps, very wiggly, constantly moving. Seeker, 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 stimulation, stimulation, stimulation. And then my second son came 3 years later and was the fucking opposite. I had a hard time breastfeeding him. He and I spent many times in tears because this is partly my fault. He didn't get a good latch as he got into like a month-old age. And I think his frenulum needed to be cut. Which is the part underneath here, I believe. There's a little attachment here, and an attachment here, and an attachment under your tongue. And I think they probably all needed to be snipped for him to have a good latch. He didn't get a good latch. Okay, so I shifted to bottles. I was pumping and I was giving him bottles. But this baby could not be held for a bottle. You could not cradle him in your arms and give him a bottle. He would only drink if you put him like flat on his back on a stable surface, like the couch or the floor or his bed. He wouldn't co-sleep. He slept like shit co-sleeping. So I got one of those side sleeper thingies that was next to my side of the bed, but gave him his own space. He broke out of his swaddle super early. He did not like the swaddle. He was a big, like the only way I could get him to sleep where he wouldn't kick the covers off and be freezing is I got him the sleep sacks. They're like it's like an overall, just like this, but it zips, and then it had this little pocket where his feet would go, but he could still freely move his feet and he wasn't bound too tight. He's my little avoider. He still is. As he got older, hated the sand, didn't want to touch the sand, didn't want to step in the sand. When his hands would get dirty, he would come up to me and be like, like, clean my fucking hands, Mom. Classic avoider. Now, usually what I've observed, I'm an avoider as well, by the way, is that just personally, I've noticed that the autistic people I've met and my children and myself have fallen into more of the one category versus the other. Like, what I've seen is that the people I've known who are autistic lean either towards the avoidance or towards the seeking, but can have traits of both. I have not seen someone who's equally both, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It is really helpful to figure out or to think about or talk about whether your kid or yourself is a sensory avoider or a sensory seeker, because then you know strategies to try. So, my younger one, when he would get overloaded, he had night terrors, and sleep disturbances are actually fairly common with the neurodifferent brain. They're not nightmares, they're night terrors, where he's basically screaming bloody murder, but nothing's wrong. It sounds like he's being eaten by a zombie from the way he's screaming, but he's asleep. And the doctors told me it's normal and don't wake him up and just let him scream it out. And so he'd scream it out. But one of the things I could do for him to help him reset was I would like I'd hold him where he's straddling my body, but I'd swing him upside down between my legs, and that swinging motion would really help. He slept in his, you're not supposed to let your baby sleep in the swing, but that kid slept in his fucking swing a lot. So that's more of a seeking behavior, but it's also very methodical and rhythmic, where my actual seeker, my older son, is much more random about his seeking. It's not necessarily that he's looking for repetition and patterns. He's just looking for anything, like squeeze me, sit on me, touch me. I will say my younger one sometimes likes to, he'll put himself, like he likes to have his feet sat on. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's helpful to think about whether you're a seeker or an avoider. If you've got questions about this, definitely put them in the comments or shoot me a message. I always try to help whenever I can. And to my new friend, AKA one of the dear friends of my fiance, I hope this is helpful to you, and thank you for the inspiration. And I'm gonna do my best to get more active with making new content, because I've been kind of absent because I've had some pretty shitty marriages. But I feel in a pretty good place now. Anyway, here's to seeking or avoiding.